I want y'all to check out this UFO that the news channel caught. I ain't even mean to do it. Now that white dot down there is a helicopter. But y'all check out this flat disc is about to fly past. Look at that. Now I slowed it down to slow motion. Now remember that white dot is just a helicopter. You're about to see a classic disc-shaped UFO fly by. Look at this.
If they're saying that white dot is a helicopter, then whatever just flew by here was massive. Shoo! And it was stealthy too, look at that.
Here's a creepy clip of a dog making biting motions at its owner whenever she turns her back. Each time she turns away, the dog stiffens, locks onto her, and snaps at the air. According to Vets Online, this isn't playful behavior, but hesitation mixed with fear or low-level aggression. Dogs are more likely to test boundaries if they don't feel watched, especially if they're anxious or unsure. It's essentially a dog working up to a bite without fully committing, and trainers say behavior like this can escalate if it isn't addressed early on.
Man, y'all better get a hold of Cujo, man. He turns into a damn hellhound as soon as you turn your back. If you thought that last clip was terrifying, wait till you see this.
Oh man, I can't tell. Is that a shadow or a hammerhead? See the shadow move away and then back? Has to be a hammerhead. This one really has me confused. What do you think? Hammerhead, shadow, let me know.
I don't know. That definitely had the silhouette of a hammerhead, but then again, her arms is out. But do sharks actually go inside waves like that? Alright, take a quick look. Here's the slow motion. You be the judge.
You thought the dinosaurs were bad? Allow me to introduce you to the Cretaceous kraken, a newly discovered octopus, large and powerful enough to take down mosasaurs 80 million years ago. Last week, scientists announced the discovery of two very large fossilized beaks, the mouthparts of cephalopods, like squids, cuttlefish, and of course, octopuses. Beak size is a pretty good indication of body size. The smaller one suggests an animal that was between 9 to 25 feet long. The larger one suggests between 21 and 61 feet. That upper estimate puts them at not only the largest octopus to ever exist, but potentially one of the largest invertebrates to ever exist, and one of the largest predators in the ocean at the time, that we know of. Cause yeah, they were predators. They analyzed all these wear patterns on their jaw, which apparently suggests they were preying on large marine reptiles of the time, like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs. Even at the lower range of the size estimate, they would still be bigger than any living octopus today, which is the giant Pacific octopus that we know of. And the authors mentioned there's an asymmetry in the wear pattern, which is an indication of corresponding asymmetry in behavior, which suggests complex brain development and potentially high intelligence, like octopuses we know and love today. Both of these were placed in a new genus, Nanaimatothis. I personally would like to know more now.
Did they just find a fossil of the kraken or what?
At first, this looks like a simple accident, but if you take a closer look, something chilling becomes apparent. After the man falls into the grave, you can see what looks like a hand grab him on the shoulder, pulling him downwards. When this footage hit the internet, it sparked immediate debate.
Wow, a hand did pop up. Like, get down here. Look at this hand inside this tomb just pop up out of nowhere. That is absolutely terrifying. Whatever it is, it sounded extremely close. I would be looking for footprints the next day in the snow.
Okay, let's go.
What is going on? A monster cat. I guess some, like, I don't know, some ancient fucking letters. And then, like, a part of the world. What the happening?
So apparently what this dude caught on camera is it looks like the monster can is projecting some type of Hebrew letters on a wall. The question is if it's projecting words, what exactly is it saying?
Oscar is the world's first modular human prototype, and people are starting to say it's actually alive. This system is built from biological parts that change when you connect them. The moment the brain links to the heart, circulation begins. Add the lungs and it starts breathing, and that's where it stops feeling like a machine. Every new piece you add changes what it can do. A kidney starts filtering, attach a limb, and it begins to move. It even adjusts itself, trying to stay at the same temperature as a human body, around 98 degrees. And the more you build onto it, the more capable it becomes.
Why would someone even want to make some type of freaky machine like this in the first place? This is absolutely disturbing.
Why is Appalachia considered one of the strangest places in the world? It might have something to do with what's beneath it. This region sits on one of the largest cave systems on the entire planet. Tennessee alone has over 10,000 known caves. Kentucky has more than 3,000 miles of mapped cave systems, and that's just what we know, because thousands more are still unexplored. Now think about this. If you take maps of these cave systems and overlay them with cases of missing people, the patterns start to match, almost perfectly. People vanish in these areas without a trace. No evidence, no explanation, just gone. And it happens often, especially in national parks. Search teams go out, dogs lose the scent, weather suddenly changes, storms appear out of nowhere, temperatures drop rapidly, and then nothing, no body, no trace, like the person was never there. But here's where it gets even stranger. Many of these areas are rich in limestone, and for centuries limestone has been linked to strange phenomena, myths, sightings, unexplained experiences. Some researchers believe certain types of stone can store energy, almost like a recording, a theory known as the stone tape. The idea that events, moments, even something living, could somehow be held within the rock itself, and under the right conditions, released. So if that's true, then these cave systems might not just be empty spaces underground. They could be something else entirely, connected, active, unseen, which raises a question. Are people disappearing in these areas, or are they being taken by something beneath the surface?
Damn, there's no telling what could be under those large cave systems underground. What do you think that's down there?
There are a few things that make me stop and take a breath, and that book is one of them. Somebody threw a Hail Mary almost 1,000 years in the future. It's an illuminated manuscript, which means there's gold foil throughout the book to illuminate certain pictures. Very different. There are a few things that make me stop and take a breath, and that book is one of them. Somebody threw a Hail Mary almost 1,000 years in the future. It's an illuminated manuscript, which means there's gold foil throughout the book to illuminate certain pictures. Very different from almost any other Bible written in the time. But the weirdest thing in the whole book is that picture, not his face. It presents God as an architect, which was kind of a weird stance at the time. 700-ish years later, William Blake brought this back with those two paintings up there. What's weird is the ball. So if you imagine that you're looking out to the edge of the universe from above Earth, that is what it would look like. This is called a logarithmic picture of the universe. Image is set up by perception. Music people, this is how equalizers work. So that image is set up like an equalizer, like low, mids, and highs. In terms of how your eyes see, using that. Golden ratio is perception. It's how that's how you hear. There's a golden ratio in your ear. There's also one in the cone cell in your eyeball, and is why the golden ratio is called the golden ratio, because it spirals right into gold. It's a rule for all of the universe. So if we're above Earth looking out, the logarithmic picture is how our eyes would see it if we could see that. Now imagine that I took a picture of the whole thing in 360 degrees, and then we get something that looks kind of like this. This is everything we currently know about what's in our universe from Earth's perspective. And this photo gets really, really detailed. It was made...
It looks like a giant eye. The question is what's on the outside? What do they call that?
Made by using data from all kinds of telescopes and instruments from around the world and compiled into something that we can see. So all of combined might of humanity made that image with our current technology now. It's pretty amazing. It's beautiful. Now here's what happens when we color grade it. Here's what happens when I put it next to the bubble. Look at the star placement. Look at the lobes around the yellow part in the center. Look at the voids. Look at the black space. Look at the little tentacles around the edge. Almost 1,000 years ago. How? I want to remind you that this is during the Dark Ages.
This one is titled Goddess is Keeping a Sacred Secret. Interesting. I wonder what that secret could be. What stories does this tell? What's inside this box? Look at how she's like guarding the artifact. Like from each side, they're guarding it. Very interesting. I need the complete story behind this.
Antarctica is a lot different than you think. Videos like this paint it as a barren yet beautiful land of ice and snow, but apparently there are leaked photos that show us they're trying to cover up something big down there. Back in 1912, Captain Robert Scott led an expedition to the South Pole to map it out and take some pictures. This was 47 years before the Antarctic Treaty of 1959, which heavily restricted tourist travel to the majority of Antarctica. For your own safety, of course. Now, these were the photos released by National Geographic of the expedition. Just some family-friendly fun adventure, right? But apparently that was just the tip. And if you know me, I do not like just the tip. Story goes, Robert Scott and his team went down there to map the South Pole. And these are the photos they took, which were hidden from the public and apparently recently got leaked. Ancient ruins, statues, and even what looked like pyramids of some long-lost civilization that they don't want anyone to know about. And the crazy part is, in March of 1912, just 2 months after these photos were taken, Robert and his whole team died on their journey back home due to starvation and extreme cold. And these photos got later recovered by some search party that found them. Now, doubters will tell you these photos are fake because Google told them, but even ancient maps painted Antarctica as green. And this map from 1512 even shows South America connecting to the Antarctic shoreline with incredible accuracy. Antarctica is twice the size of Australia and was thought to be ice-free as recently as 6,000 years ago. And we're supposed to believe ancient humans managed to find their way around every single continent in the world, even discovering the microscopic islands of the Pacific Ocean. And somehow they just fully skipped Antarctica even when it was a luscious green paradise. A lot of people argue these ancient ruins aren't real, and who knows, but you gotta keep an open mind, right? But what are confirmed real are these photos of what looks like a pyramid hidden under the snow in Antarctica. There are many photos that prove it exists, and even professors admit it. And obviously the Google debunkers will tell you, oh, it's a natural mountain formation formed through erosion, but I don't know what kind of looking ass mountains are cut this perfect. Even satellite footage confirms it, so I don't know. You think there's something down there, or are we the trippy ones?
I mean, if this is an Antarctic pyramid, we definitely need to get some LiDAR scans going on and see what's going on. But they better be careful, because that's exactly how Alien vs. Predators movie started. They dove into a pyramid in the Antarctic.
There is so much of our past hidden under what we think are just piles of rocks. But upon closer inspection, they are anything but. Signs of the many resets of our realm are not to just be found in the many layers of dried mud beneath us. As we look at some of these magnificent structures from ancient civilizations long past that are said to be carved from hammer and chisel, you can see a clear melting type destruction pattern on these buildings. Think Archimedes' mirror, or perhaps a plasma storm-like event that left its trace realm-wide. Look at the Black Pyramid of Egypt. It is clear one of those great pyramids of Egypt exposed to one of these events, leaving the top melted and blackened and deformed. I think there are many pyramids like this Black Pyramid still to be found all across the world. Many think these are the results of a man-made event, like an ancient nuclear war. Others, like myself, I believe this was a plasma storm, part of a repeating cycle like the mud flood. Whatever the cause, it definitely left its mark the world over. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Kind of makes me think like that Demetrius's mirror, whatever he said that happened to this Black Pyramid. Could this be part of a reset event? Like probably the third or fourth reset that happened. Interesting stuff. The Black Pyramid. I never heard of this before.
The Egyptian artifacts make absolutely zero sense, and archaeologists might just be afraid of being wrong. How is it the first...
Tell me that doesn't look like Michael Jackson.
might just be afraid of being wrong. How is it the further back in time we go, the more advanced they get? Egypt is old, like really old. Egypt is so old that even ancient Egyptians studied ancient Egyptian history thousands of years older than them. When the Romans discovered the pyramids, they were older to the Romans than the Romans are to us today. Woolly mammoths still roamed the earth when they were first built. And of course, everyone knows that Cleopatra lived closer to the invention of the iPhone, or hell, closer to you watching this video right now than she did to the construction of the pyramids. What's strange is that as time went on, their artifacts somehow got less and less advanced. The Egyptian Empire reigned for about 3,000 years, divided into approximately 31 dynasties classified into the Old, Middle, and New Kingdoms. When we go back to the first 5 or so dynasties, the Old Kingdom, we see impressive feats of design engineering unlike any other. And impressive is an understatement. These are straight up machine perfect down to the micrometer. Like this round vase, perfectly balancing itself dead center on a point no larger than the tip of an egg. Except this isn't your pottery class vase made of clay. It's granite. And granite is harder than steel. That's a fact. Here are the numbers. Here's another vase, slightly chipped, revealing its walls are as thin as a playing card. Another bowl made from diorite, a stone as hard or even slightly harder than granite, whose walls are literally 1/40th of an inch or half a millimeter thick. We have no idea how to make granite pottery like this using known ancient methods, although high-tech machines could probably do the trick. But I don't think you realize how insane it is to suggest that this level of mechanical precision was achieved on granite using primitive tools softer than granite, the official claim. And these are just a few. There were over 40,000 of these artifacts found under the Step Pyramid of Djoser dating back to the 3rd or 4th dynasty, with some suggesting they're actually pre-dynastic, meaning they're even older, and the Old Kingdom Egyptians just inherited them from a previous civilization. Oh, we're in too deep now, Johnny boy. It's only in recent times when we finally analyzed them with modern light scanning technology that we found out how mind-bendingly precise they really are. They took a jar, did some measurements in a lab, and to this day, Egyptologists have no explanation for these results. The top of the vase was 3/1000ths of an inch away from being perfectly flat, something only possible with like CNC machines today. For reference, a sheet of paper is 7/1000ths of an inch thick. A human hair is 2 to 3. This thing was a literal hair away from being perfectly flat. The inside lip of the vase's mouth was 1/1000th of an inch away from being perfectly perpendicular to the top, which is a mathematically flawless right angle. And the entire vase was 13/1000ths of an inch, which is still just like 2 sheets of paper away from being perfectly circular. These are legit CNC machine level perfections, mass produced over 40,000 times on a material harder than steel using copper and stone tools by hand. Oh, and they might be pre-dynastic before copper tools were widely even used. I don't see an ounce of logic in that. Okay, maybe this one was just a fluke, right? A one-off perfect vase as a result of mass producing over 40,000 of them. So they took more into the lab and found even more astonishingly accurate measurements, revealing alleged machine-calculated mathematical use of pi, the golden ratio, and more, again to within thousands of an inch of accuracy. That's like that much. Everything from the flatness of the base, the roundness, and even the uniformity of the thickness of the walls was nothing less of CNC machine perfection. Justifying this by saying they were just really skilled or they had a lot of time does not explain this level of precision with the known tools and methods at their disposal. There are even some vases that are reportedly made from corundum, which is magnitudes harder than granite and sits right behind diamond on the hardness scale. Although this one is for some reason debated, a lot of people claim it isn't made from corundum, but still others insist it is. A single one of these pots would have likely taken weeks, if not months, given modern explanations. Shouldn't there be evidence of their highly precise techniques all over ancient Egypt? Oh, there was this. A hieroglyph outlining the sculpting of an alabaster vase, one of the softest materials ever, softer than marble, and totally possible with their tools. But it's been proven that the technique outlined here would not work with granite. Sure, cutting into huge slabs using rough and painstakingly slow techniques using those tools might be possible, as we've seen them desperately trying to prove, but the force of friction required to achieve that simply would not be possible on small, delicate artifacts like these, never mind how machine accurate they are. Some of these vases are as small as a thimble, not even practical, and even harder to make, almost like they were just showing off, like, look what we can do. One theory is that these vases were spun on some sort of grinding tool, for which they have no evidence nor recordings of, but that's completely blown out of the water with the lug handles on the sides here. It's pretty obvious that these wouldn't be possible from spin grinding. Absolutely no one can explain how these lug handles were made, which again, lab results showed that they too were perfectly symmetrical and level to each other to within thousandths of an inch. Later dynasties even tried recreating these jars, and although still impressive, are nowhere near the precision of the earlier ones. This level of advanced pottery is said to have reached its peak in the first 2 dynasties, and then poof, they just forgot how to do it, which leads people to believe believe these artifacts might be much older than anyone thinks. What if they inherited them from even earlier previous civilizations? And it doesn't end with these. There's also the schist disc crafted from a single piece of stone. Tell me, what kind of stone can be shaped like this by hand? No one really knows what this is, said to be a bowl or a flower holder of some sort, even though it looks sort of mechanical. Recovered from a first dynasty tomb, and again thought to be even older than that. Then we get to the statues, and these somehow make even less sense. The face of Ramesses at Luxor. Several of these statues were made in honor of the pharaoh Ramesses. Engineer Christopher Dunn noticed that there was something off about these faces. They were perfect, but almost too perfect, and not in a human way. He took a photo of the statue head, made it 50% transparent, flipped it, and overlaid the left side on the right side. Doing this, he discovered the face was perfectly symmetrical. Centerline measurements confirmed this too. It's like half the head was carved, then copy-pasted to the other half. We see consistent eye-to-mouth profile ratios across all of these statue heads, something that we'd likely do with like 3D modeling programs today, computer accurate precision. Same thing with the crowns on their heads, and this wasn't done just once but repeated among many statues. This isn't something that anyone could just eyeball, but experts insist they were all done by hand. Professional sculptor Mike Leckie even wrote in a letter saying that his modern diamond tools would have been well worn out before barely even starting to sculpt something like this out of granite, and states that it would have been borderline impossible to repeatedly achieve this level of accuracy time and time again using only the tools we have evidence of. What machining technologies did ancient Egyptians or even earlier civilizations before them possess that archaeologists just simply refuse to even consider?
Egyptian CNC machines has to be the only answer. But again, how could they put those handles on? Made out of granite? That is a mystery. Beneath the sun-baked ruins of Tula Hidalgo, Mexico, a simple excavation unraveled into one of the time's most mysterious archaeological revelations. What lay hidden beneath the earth were not just artifacts, fascinating symbols, crystal spheres, metallic vessels, and geopolymer structures, objects that challenge every assumption about what we have been told about the forgotten world. In this exclusive on-site documentary, we take you step by step into this mystery, the first moments of discovery and its exact location, analysis of the strange metals and unknown compounds beyond conventional science, decoding cryptic symbols and possible ties to Anunnaki, Toltecs, and ancient watchers. What is going on here? In the beginning of this video, it looks like there's some type of DNA strand structure artifact. Oh, let's get into this.
Back in May, a large sarcophagus, pyramid, and many plates were found in Tula Hidalgo, Mexico. We documented them here. You may have seen the video. This today was found, another amazing discovery. This archway was found as they were digging a hole. The top of it crested through. And so they dug it out. You know, you can see here it's popping through this hole on this land. And it took quite a few hours today to dig it out. It's very, very precisely sealed, as you can see. There was intent on sealing this. It took some time and some effort to finagle everything out and get it opened up. When they did, boy, the surprise was extreme. The stuff that's inside of this tomb or crypt, you know, with the sarcophagus being buried on this land and some of the other finds, it definitely seems as if this was a stash, you know, as if King Tut had in his tomb all these treasures that.
Look at this. You got a pyramid. We got some type of elongated head creature. What is going on?
It's possible these are the treasures that were with some of these tombs or the beings that were alive at this time. As you can see, some of the items inside are just immaculate. The green is a oxidation on this geopolymer. This yellow stone, or the green stone in this case here, is actually a geopolymer. It's a lot like limestone, but it's something that was created not by the earth. The amazing crystal skulls found in here, some of them are giant, extreme.
Crystal skulls. Look at this. Crystal skulls. Look at this. Straight out of Indiana Jones.
Extreme clarity. The depictions are all very consistent with the pieces we've been documenting over the last 5 years. That is just the interesting part, is that the consistency in the drawings is in many cases very, very similar, as if almost one artist was to do this. And the crazy part there is that...
What is this supposed to be representing? Some type of swan, maybe? With some type of horse hoof. I couldn't even tell you what this is. It looks like a swan with a one horse leg.
There's so many of these items. The amount of time it would take one artist to do this is longer than most artists are alive. Actually, I believe it would be probably older than any artist, because there's just so many thousands of pieces that we've documented, tens of thousands, and all with this type of iconography, imagery. And the thing with these items is they're all extremely unique and extremely detailed, not just carved into a perfect sculpture, but the details on the surface is through the roof in terms of the relief and different types of carvings to acquire different results. Multiple different types of language has been found and identified, things like cuneiform and hieroglyphics, but also other languages, lesser known languages, pre-Canaan, pre-Proto-Sumerian, a lot of different relationships. The AI has a heyday with it, which is a pretty gratifying experience, because it has a way to compare all these proto-languages in ways that our minds... It'll be great to utilize this as well as some of our other footages to create the full documentary that's in the works right now of the
That reminds me of one of those heads on Easter Island, or something you would see like in the Aztecs.
Discoveries on this land, and we're going to have interviews and get down to the nitty-gritty of all of these discoveries in a much more, non-social media way. Right now, there's people complaining that it's being released on social media and not in proper formats, and I completely agree as far as the publishing and getting this stuff verified by third parties. Why isn't it?
It's massive. I'm trying to see the art on the side.
It being done, I hear people asking this question, and I gladly give them the money, and I'd gladly give them the pieces if they can get the verification done. It's just something that's being looked over and pushed away in ways that make it very complicated. It's a very, very, very complex topic when you have this sort of complexity coming out of the ground from an ancient time, and things like the Boogosphere flying around, and black budget programs in the government that we've known about.
Boogosphere, that's the name of the spear the guy was describing, the Green Beret, I think. But that was probably another version or a completely different one.
For 100 years almost, or probably longer in this case. It's something that's just going to have to be researched and done properly. If you have a way to peer verify things, if you want to take a crack at the research, please, by all means, reach out. We will definitely make it happen. It's a group effort here to get this understood in the best way that we can, and I encourage it. Till next time.
Either somebody hit the jackpot or they're pulling the arts and crafts on us. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Strange sky over Michigan. What is it? I can tell you just right off the bat, it looks like a mothership then flew across there, doesn't it?
Is this? It is going all the way across the sky, and then it stops there. Wild. I'm gonna go the other direction. This is like, I've never seen a sky like that in my life. And then here's the sun up here. Wow. Is this?
Yeah, what we're looking at is the Mothership Trail takeoff. Right where it ended, it said pew, hit hyperdrive on us. But right there, it was slowly gathering speed. UFO/UAP recorded in Panama City, Florida. Caught on film. HD. Let's take a closer look at this.
What is that, people? What is that? No, it changes shapes. It's not a firework. It's not a balloon. No. What is that? What is that? See, it's the original size. What is that? What is it? It's going faster now. What is that? It's like no drone I've ever seen. What is it? Anyone have any clue what this is? They're here. No clue. It's like slowed to a complete halt, basically. There it goes again. What is it? Okay.
I was wrong.
At first I wanted to say a drone, but it started to shapeshift a little bit into like an orb, and then it went back to your traditional UFO discus shape. What it is, I don't know. That remains a mystery. Our world was a much bigger realm before the flood. Interesting. Oh yeah, we got a petrified dragon, petrified elephant, tortoise. Dang, what was that? Several tortoises. Another reptile. That looks like a koala bear. Petrified Komodo dragon. Okay, we rapid firing. Another petrified turtle. Another petrified elephant. Oh, a bat. A salamander. A giant frog. Interesting. What is she working on? Was she praying to that giant snake? It does resemble snake skin, doesn't it? What is going on? right. We got another one, a scorpion. I couldn't even tell you what that was. Or this, like an eagle maybe. Back to the elephant island, mama elephant, a baby elephant. Horse stuck in mud. A whole island laying on its side, but it really is an elephant. Lady falling asleep on the mountain edge. That looks like an alligator. Crocodile, one of them. What are we supposed to do with an alligator that big? I guess we would need some giants or something to subdue something that size. That makes like.
Did he really just prove the flood happened?
Do you know the world right now is scarred with the evidence of a global flood? You know about the Marianas Trench and all these deep water trenches where we can't. How you think they got there? The scripture says the fountains of the deep burst open, leaving all around the planet massive cracks in the floor. Scientists have found plankton at the top of mountains, an organism that only grows underwater. When the scripture says the waters rose above the highest mountain. Come on, man. Y'all playing around. The scripture says that ship came to rest on the mountains of Ararat in the Middle East. The bottom of that ship has been found in the 1940s by a pilot flying over the mountains. They have found petrified wood, petrified iron, and an anchor stone with the names of 8 people on it. There is a town near that mountain that was named after Noah. The Lord said that there was a firmament, a ground between the waters above and the waters beneath. There was a layer of water that wrapped the whole world. Where you think all that rain came from to fill the earth above the highest mountain? That water probably protected people from aging too fast. That's why they lived for 400, 500, 600, 800 years. And after the flood, you see the lifespan of man going all the way down. Dealing with that hot sun with no water.
There's also a place called Shark Tooth Mountain in California, and on that mountain you can find shark teeth everywhere. So it's just fascinating to me that you're able to find actual petrified shark tooths all around the mountain.
They are slowly pulling back the secrets of Antarctica, y'all. Scientists said they discovered a land underneath Antarctica, y'all. And they had this information for a while. I'm talking about, they said there are trees, there are ridges, lakes, rivers, and green evergreen grass. So I started thinking, like, y'all had this information for this long and y'all just telling us? And then it make you think everybody has their theories on what's going on in Antarctica beyond the ice walls, right? So could we possibly really be right about this? Why are they now telling us that there is a whole underground world underneath Antarctica? All that ice. Why now? Is it something about to happen where we're about to get revealed something deep and dark about Antarctica? Is it because the ice is melting? What is it? What do y'all think? Because they didn't have to come out and tell us anything. So why now? And if they can withhold information like this for this long and tell us, how much information are they withholding from us right now that they didn't tell us? This shit don't mess with y'all mind just to know that it's so many things we don't know, so many things we are not told the truth on. We all know that Antarctica is the most protected place on Earth by every nation around the world. But the question we don't know is why?
The Antarctic Treaty. Why are they so protective of it is the main question. Why do many people now believe that the Grand Canyon is ancient Egypt?
There is no one that can convince me that ancient Egypt wasn't in the Grand Canyon. I mean, you just need to look. Like, have a look at these structures. That's the only way that you can describe it. Look at this. They look like pyramids, like sphinxes. This looks like an ancient city. Look at this. There's a very consistent theme all around the world of these megalithic old structures that went through some sort of heat event. You can see here, this is like a pyramid, the Sphinx. This is not natural rock formation, guys. There's a lot of people that notice this. Look at this. Clearly, something was here before. And we all know that they found caves and ancient Egyptian artifacts and iconography within the Grand Canyon already. So this theory isn't just, you know, out of thin air, right? Like, I'm observing and I'm seeing everything and I'm understanding that more than likely ancient Egypt existed right in the United States, right in the Grand Canyon. Look at all this. These are not natural rock structures. Look at this, guys. Very obvious to me. Very obvious to me. But let me know what you guys think. If you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, let us know.
I still haven't been to the Grand Canyon. I can't wait to go. I got to figure out one of these days, probably 2 years from now, I might plan a trip. But your boy is on a mission right now.
Let's go in. The last major reset occurred between the mid-1700s and late 1800s, roughly 250 to 150 years ago. This reset wasn't just war or disease. It was a global memory wipe, infrastructure repopulation, and narrative overwrite. They used mud floods, fires, engineered natural disasters, and selective rewriting of history to wipe Tartaria and erase what came before. Now here's the strange part. The Capitol buildings, World's Fair structures, old world cathedrals, domed geometries, these were already here. We didn't build them, we inherited them. Photos from the 1800s show cities fully built, yet nearly empty. No scaffolding, no construction, just there. And the stories, always the same, built in a few years, then burned down. Now enter the orphan trains and Cabbage Patch Kids. Between 1854 and 1929, over 200,000 shipped across the U.S. by train. No parents, no background, just orphans. But where did all the orphans come from? They were reset survivors, children with no memory, no lineage, placed into repopulated cities to seed a new narrative. Why? Because adults remember. Children can be programmed. Cabbage Patch Kids, the dolls said to be grown in the Cabbage Patch, are symbolic disclosure. Born from the earth, no parents. Just like the orphan trains, the name is not innocent, it's encoded truth. The U.S. wasn't founded and built from scratch. It was inherited, cleansed, and rebranded. The buildings were Tartarian. The reset was intentional. And now the memory is coming back. Because people like you are asking the right questions. Let's go in. The last
Question everything.
I kept thinking about my hometown of Rockaway. I'm from Brooklyn, but been here forever. And this building, the Rockaway Courthouse, they call it, always stuck out to me, you know? But I never thought anything of it because it wasn't that big, that tall, you know? But look at this thing. Look at this thing. For 1931, in a beach town community, this looks like a freaking castle. Why would they have something like this? All bungalows, beach houses, stuff like that. Not even like seasonal guests, you know, not like a lot of all year round residents. But this building, right by Jamaica Bay, the water's right there. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but this doesn't make sense to me. This doesn't make sense. Big windows. We'll go around the corner and see what's going on with this.
And whenever you see an old structure like this, I almost can guarantee that there's some type of underground tunnel system connecting these ancient structures to all the nearby ancient structures. That's for another deep rabbit hole.
Come on. Tallest building in New York for who? The king and the queen? Though we won the revolution. Come on. Make it make sense. This is out of a movie. A movie. I don't know the name. I know it's not true. Based on fictional characters. Made up. Look at this beautiful thing. Make it make sense. 15 Park right there. City Hall right there. Manhattan Municipal Building, the beauty that is right there. New York City Hall, 1812. 100 years later, allegedly, the Woolworth Building. On a beautiful first day of fall in New York City. None of it's making sense. but still, I love taking it all in. This is some beautiful stuff. Who and whenever they built it. Make it make sense. Sound off with only smart answers in the comments. No regurgitating AI unless it's factual. Make it make sense. Make me be wrong, please.
What if I told you dinosaurs might have never existed at all? Yeah, I know, it sounds crazy, but stay with me. The word dinosaur wasn't even created until 1842. And guess what? That's also around the same time the first dinosaur bones just happened to be discovered. Before that, nothing. No talk of giant lizards, no museum bones, no ancient records calling them by name. And here's the part that gets real weird. We've never found a full dinosaur skeleton, ever. Just random bones, scattered, broken, and dug up by people who get paid to find them. Then, museums take those pieces and build giant skeletons based on guesses. They even use plaster and fake bones to fill in the gaps. So ask yourself, what if the idea of dinosaurs was created to support something else? To help push the theory of evolution? To make us feel small and unimportant in a long, random universe? And what about all those ancient stories of dragons, giant creatures with wings and scales? Why were those erased and replaced with scientific versions called dinosaurs? You didn't see the fossils. You saw cartoons, museums, Hollywood. That's not proof. That's a program. Maybe dinosaurs were never real. Maybe they were just the cover story. What if
the cover story from dragons? Interesting. And I'm a huge fan of Jurassic Park. I love all of them, especially the originals. Even the new stuff is entertaining, but it does make you think all this stuff was recently created. It's not adding up.
I dare you to try to explain the 100-ton granite boxes at the Serapeum of Saqqara in Egypt. There's 24 of these massive granite enclosures, and you won't believe the official explanation for them. All 24 of them were moved into this underground complex dating to about 1400 BC, where they now sit. And the craftsmanship of these boxes is once again insane. Perfect right angles and parallel sides leveled with machine-like precision, you know the drill. Made of granite, which reminder is harder than steel, using bronze and stone tools that are softer than granite. Like, you know, using a plastic knife to cut through a car door. Try that out and let me know how it goes. But never mind that. I've already said it 100 times about all these other artifacts and ancient architecture throughout ancient Egypt, because these boxes, they're different. Let's start with the sheer size, about 100 tons each, and barely even fit through the hallways they would need to pass through to be placed in the pits that they currently sit in. As we can see from this unfinished box here that was abandoned in one of the passageways at the Serapeum. If you couldn't tell, they're also made from a single piece of granite each, so it's not like they took smaller pieces and just glued them together. One big ass brick of granite, hollowed out from the inside into a perfect box, absolutely zero room for any mistakes. And I find it extremely difficult to imagine how, once again, this sawing method could hollow out a granite box like this with flawless accuracy. Because 100 tons is a lot. The experts claim that we might be able to move 100-ton objects using primitive methods as long as we had enough people, which according to them is about 400. Tell me, how on earth would 400 people be able to coordinate moving 100-ton blocks in cramped hallways like these and around these super tight corners? For reference, this is what 400 people looks like. All stuffed in there. Not to mention, the boxes were perfectly placed in the center of rooms even smaller than the hallways. Where do we have room for 400 people there? And I don't know if you noticed, but these hallways and pits are currently lit up with modern lighting, which the ancient Egyptians obviously didn't have. This Serapeum would have been pitch black day and night 3,400 years ago, but of course they still had fire and torches that served this exact purpose, right? Except they found no evidence of soot, the leftover scorches from torch fire, anywhere on the walls or ceilings in this complex, as they would normally find in dark underground passageways. Any commonsensical person would imagine that a project like this would have taken thousands of hours of work in torchlit chambers, yet not a shred of proof of that anywhere. So what did they use to see in the dark back then? And the entire Saqqara necropolis itself is dug into limestone bedrock. There's no granite found here, so they couldn't have chiseled these in place either, as some may suggest. What we do know is that these boxes were important, like super duper important. But for what? Clearly an undertaking of this scale would have surely held a higher purpose for their civilization. I mean, they definitely weren't tombs. They're obviously way too big, right? Nope, they still call them tombs. Made for, get this, the pharaoh's prized bulls. Yes, Bull tombs. They said it, so it must be real. Now, upon discovery in 1850, most of these boxes were already open. Their lids either gone or moved over, so whatever was inside had likely already been stolen. You know, by those pesky thieves that conveniently steal everything that historians have no evidence of. But they found one box that was completely sealed, lid fully intact, so the bull skeleton must still be inside. A perfect opportunity to prove this theory. Well, firstly, they couldn't lift the lid, which is only about 30 tons, as they weren't able to get enough manpower in the room to even budget. Yet the Egyptians somehow moved the entire 100-ton blocks themselves into those rooms thousands of years earlier. Makes sense. So they did the only logical thing that anyone from the 1800s would do in such a scenario. Blow it the up with TNT. Yeah, for real. Archaeology was pretty savage back then, which finally revealed the truth that the boxes at the Serapeum of Saqqara were filled with nothing. Absolutely nothing. No mummy, no bull skeletons, no gold or treasure, nada. They did find mummified bull carcasses in a bunch of wooden sarcophagi, as would be expected, in an area called the Lesser Gallery, but not a single one found in any of the granite boxes. Cause yes, to be fair, the Apis bull was a highly revered deity worshipped by the ancient Egyptians, symbolizing fertility in agriculture and the physical embodiment of their god Ptah. Hope I pronounced that right. I just find it hard to believe that a project of this colossal magnitude, which would have taken years, if not decades to complete, was dedicated to stashing the bodies of dead animals. While at the same time, mummified bulls were found in much smaller, simpler wooden sarcophagi in the Lesser Gallery, which is oddly closed to the public and no images of those exist either. Allegedly proving that this is how they stored bull remains, not this. But then again, I'm just an idiot. Still others claim these boxes may have been power conductors that generated electricity for their civilization, part of the infamous Giza Power Plant theory, which is a fringe idea that may or may not be true, and I explained it in full in a previous video. So, are these really bull tombs, or just a steaming load of bullshit?
Yeah, I agree with them. I don't think that they put bull carcasses in there. I think something more of the lines of ancient technology was afoot. Was it a conductor? Did they put something inside to make sure it didn't escape? I have no idea, but it does make you wonder that they're not telling us the truth of what they were actually for.
Ever heard of her? Marjorie? The Moorish Countess Marjorie was a dark-skinned Pictish woman from 1256 to 1292 AD. Check the timeline. The daughter of Neil, Niger. Check the spelling. The Earl of Carrack, who was a son of Donachad, same as Duncan, meaning swarthy. Look that word up right there, swarthy. There's going to be a connection there. The Moorish princess married Robert de Bruce and gave birth to a son named Robert the Bruce, who became the first king of the Scottish Bruce dynasty. The princess godson David II became the second king of the House Bruce. Right there. This is why I want to pause it. In Chicago, it's a beer company named Three Floyds. They got a beer that's called Robert the Bruce.
That's not top, guys, by the way.
Her granddaughter, Princess Margaret, also called Marjorie, married Walter Stewart VI and became the mother of Robert II, who became Scotland's first Stuart king. It was the Stuart dynasty that brought forth today's King James Version of the Bible.
Why didn't you tell me?
That's where you get the foundation of the original King James Version Bible. We've just destroyed everything they told us about who wrote the so-called Bible. The people that wrote the so-called Bible look like you and I. Copper complexion, olive complexion, swarthy complexion. They were not pale skins. You want to go a little further?
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
The King James Version of the Bible, which was authorized and named after a Moorish man named King James Stewart in 1611. What else they been hiding? The Bruce dynasty was a direct descendant of David I. David I was the great grandnephew of the Pictish king, King Niger, Kenneth Duff, Dub, or Duffy.
That reminds me of that Simpsons deer company called Duffy.
Landing. Operation Dominic began. A series of 31 missiles were shot straight up into the sky to test how high humans can actually reach. they quickly figured out not far at all.
It seems that whenever they were shooting these missiles up into the sky, they were actually interacting with different layers of this plasma field or this electromagnetic phenomena, and it seems to have fluid-like properties. As it actually hits a certain portion of this force field, if you will, it begins to disperse and seek equilibrium based on the impedance of the electromagnetic layers.
Why is it when we review this footage that these things are exploding? It looks like they're hitting a barrier.
Testing the strength of the firmament, and they weren't able to penetrate it.
What's going on there? What is this? In my opinion, I think that they were trying to find a way to possibly get out. There's a firmament above us.
So everything is as above, so below. Obviously, many people are becoming aware that there's a firmament above that many people are now starting to realize is impenetrable.
No matter what you do, you can't go straight up in the air and keep going.
If you don't know already, this is G14 classified.
At the peak of the Cold War, the CIA uncovered a source who claimed to have found an ancient Babylonian artifact capable of generating temporal portals with the ability to see through time. After recovering the crystalline artifact from the Baghdad Museum raid, Project Looking Glass shifted to Phase 2, construction of a temporal aperture device. The Nevada desert was chosen as the home for the device. Under the guise of nuclear weapons testing, we were able to construct the aperture in complete secrecy. 200,000 tons of structural steel were used along with 212,000 cubic yards of concrete. The crystalline artifact was stabilized with argon gas. Operators were specially trained psych operatives who were given a combination of psychedelic and emotion-suppressive drugs. This was a necessary component in order to activate and operate the device and focus on specific time periods, past or future. December 12, 1979, first test activation. 3 operators exposed to unfiltered timeline data disappeared upon activation. All clinical staff experienced temporal displacement, with some reporting crossing their own timelines. The project was immediately suspended. The device showed us things, probabilities, warnings. In 2012, it revealed something that forced total shutdown. This footage is all that remains.
Did they have the same type of device that Project Looking Glass was on 13 Ghosts? Now we have a military operative that explains what really happened inside Project Looking Glass. You're not going to want to miss what he has to say.
What happened was people, very smart people, began to figure out that something big was coming up. Something that made it so all the possibilities of all the future scenarios of any choice, any possibility that was fed in and observed through the looking glass inherently ended up in the same future. And no decision, no possibility changed past a certain point. That's the big secret. All possible timelines lead to the same basic set of history in the future. That is what sends everybody that has all of the information, that knows everything, into a blind panic. The people that know everything about Looking Glass, that have gotten all the reports and all the information, the elites of the world, probably figured out that that was the end of the game, and nothing could be manipulated beyond that point.
Project Looking Glass.
When I was in the military, it would have been before 97 when I got in trouble. One of my particular areas that I was amazingly intuitive about is problem solving / mission planning, or more specifically, taking a bad mission and fixing it, Certainly knowing how string theory and possible futures works makes it so you can work your mind very quickly to see the reality of what's happening and decide what decisions need to be made to change it for a particular outcome. At a certain point, after they're done hearing the computer tell them, this is what's going to happen over and over and over and over again, all they become focused on is, how do we fix it? What I do know is that I was called in and asked to solve this problem, this timeline contraction problem. And I eventually did my due diligence and did all the investigating and basically only had one piece of information, and that was reinforcement. The computer's right. The timelines will contract down to some inevitable thing. There is an inevitable event. It's been forecast, it's been predicted, it's been fed to us in a slop trough of what they want us to believe will happen. They don't actually have control over what happens. They only have control over the reaction, and it seems that no matter what they try to do to cause their desired reaction, it's going to have an opposite effect. Much, much easier for me to explain today what that process is as opposed to back then. If I had to give it a name, I would say it's the awakening process. It's an evolution of consciousness that cannot, will not, and no matter what decisions or possibilities are injected into the equation, eventually it all resolves down to us all learning the truth and becoming aware of this massive dam of lies that has been built that keep us from knowing massive volume of information that we should otherwise possess. Essentially what happened with Looking Glass, not only did they not want people to use it anymore because they knew it was just going to burp out the same thing, but at the same time they didn't want anybody else to know what it was saying, I'm sure. Because that information was a monumental concern when I was in the military about how to prevent this inevitability. Now, at first I thought it was end of the world. Now I see end of the world as end of their world. The biggest cherry on top of all this conversation would be a synopsis to say that if I could convince everybody out there that for all intents and purposes, what we believe to be true eventually becomes true. If somebody convinces us that a major disaster is going to happen in the very near future, a major disaster happens in the very near future. If we don't buy into that fear and accept that there is really nothing that we know is going to happen, and accept of whatever happens, that makes the convergence of the timelines happen as naturally as possible. Any attempts to try to go away from this one inevitable conclusion, I again see as a new beginning, an end of this reality, the beginning of something that we can't even possibly understand based on the level of our beliefs currently. But when all that information comes flooding out, there's going to be no denying what's true and what's a lie or what's illusion. Basically what we're experiencing right now is two master chess players sitting at the board. And one of them looks down at the board and sees that he's in checkmate in 7 moves. And he looks across at his opponent and he knows that his opponent sees it too. So there's no getting out of it. So at this point, the loser can only prolong the game. Both players know the game is over. It's only a matter of time before he does this, and then you're forced to do this, and then he's forced to do this. and eventually checkmate. We, as a race, if we could understand that the game is over, that based on the rules of the game, the bad guys have already lost, the good guys have already won. Yes, there's moves left on the table, but those moves are being forced by the player that is going to win. The only way that checkmate can't happen is if the player that's winning makes a mistake. But from all of the information that I've gathered, all of the information that's been given, all of the information that's been vetted to me, it seems pretty obvious that the good guy player on the side of the chessboard knows exactly what has to be done to win the game. And so at this point, any mistake would be all but impossible. But again, you really have to understand the game to know that the guy that's losing is lost. And I'm sure most people sitting watching a chess match between two advanced chess players know the game's over long after the two players know it's over. Because they can't see the board and see that there's only 7 moves left.